Hey guys, Boris here. A consistent and seemingly simple comp is the Teemo reroll. However, I have found that many players lose placements due to their choices in itemization, augment selection, or the way they cap their boards. Therefore, let's quickly take a look at the comp and then jump in game with a top tier player. We are ideally playing from a stage 2 tempo spot with an upgraded Teemo and a frontliner Vanguard, and ideally with a frontline or the Rageblade Slam, but do not be afraid to slam other form of attack speed items. Item augments are amazing at enabling us to push that tempo early on. If we are playing from a low streak, only do so around some form of an econ engine, Timebreaker being the best one. Once we make it to 3-1, we are rolling down to about 40 gold to stabilize our board, or 33 if we are very close to hitting one of those 3 stars, as our level 5 board is going to consist of 3 Shepherd, where we are running Teemo, Lissandra, Leona, Mordekaiser, and Alawi. 3 Vanguard here is completely fine. We are rolling for 3 main units, that being Leona, Nasus, and Teemo. Only pick up that Lissandra if she comes free and does not sacrifice yourself a bench slot, as we are going to be replacing her as the carry with other form of an AP carry from the 4 cost pool. Once we have hit our units, but make sure you're hitting that Leona and Teemo. Leona is going to be your main tank throughout the game. We are looking to field Rast or Nami. Rast is amazing at capping out your board as Vanguards gain shields. Gaining those extra resistances is amazing, and the attack speed scaling for your Teemo and your secondary carry are great as well. Consider LeBlanc only if you have another Rageblade and a good Arbiter, where on the Arbiter front we are generally looking for the effects of dropping below HP threshold on mana spent or every 4 seconds, and the effect being gaining permanent HP if we get that early on. Otherwise, shield is going to be better than resistances, because our solo frontliner for most of the game is going to be that Leona. And for that front, she wants stone plates. 3 stone plates is the theoretical best, but if you're unable to secure the third one, Adaptive or Crown Guard are going to be completely fine. Where for Teemo, we want that Rageblade Gunblade, as this is stall and sustain comp. For the damage amp slot, we are looking for a Deathcap, Giant Slayer, Archangels, which are completely fine. The secondary AP carry is going to be carrying our utility in form of reroll and a Void Staff, and then some form of mana generating item to get their casting faster. For artifacts, there are 3 good artifacts, which are Shiv, Flickerbait, and Varus's. The tank artifacts do not seem to be performing that great on Leona, since she wants those stone plates. On the augment front, item augments are going to be the best thing, as we have so many units to itemize, but no scout, no pivot, and early learnings are obviously going to be the top tier and going to be locking that line in for you. While on the combat front, something like Glass Cannon and Ascension are great, and we can also play this comp into the Nasus hero augment. However, that's going to be obviously prioritizing itemizing that Nasus first. Other things to note, the good emblems are only Vanguard and Arbiter really. Shepherd emblem opens up a different way to approach the line, and I would generally be playing that into the AP flex comp. While Vanguard emblem enables us to be playing around those 6 Vanguard already on level 8, otherwise only do so on level 9 and if you're able to itemize that Blitzcrank. Otherwise, keeping a strong Arbiter effect or other carries is going to be more worthwhile. For our god selection, we are generally going with Kayle, Varus, Yasuo, or Ahri. Kayle is amazing for providing those items and the extra tempo. Varus is also nice, as his boot is amazing at capping out this board with the extra effective HP on our board. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below with all the rest I have made, and I am working also on a unified single sheet where I'm going to be posting live updates to all these cheat sheets as I'm improving them constantly with the new information coming on. And now let's jump in game with a pro. For our reward review, we are going to be jumping in game here with my favorite streamer, Mr. Frodan, right here, who is always up to date with all of the latest meta developments and has a publicly available VOD as well. We are starting out with the Leona, which is the prime unit to be holding onto the current meta as she plays in all those AP lines. And we do get a Jinx Orb, could potentially be considering playing around Anima, but you definitely would be wanting seeing one of those 3 costs, as those are not guaranteed to come apart from those orbs. And we have found a single Teemo as well right now, but going to be holding and fielding that Ezreal, as playing for the potential of the Econ engine is always nice until you are sure that you're able to make a decent board. Now, this choice of solely the Lissandra here is not exactly something I am the biggest fan of. Lissandra is a prime unit, the Shepherd being the strongest mid lane warrior you could be playing, and I perhaps would have sold the Jinx, since right now we are gambling on the 3 cost anime unit to be coming out of the orb, and it did not happen to be the case. I prefer to be playing for strong boards early on in order to secure top 4 placements, as currently you can just end up in a sort of a pissing matchup between people going full open. For our augment selection, right now we do not have the strongest of the boards, therefore prize fighter we have to exclude. This is only if you're able to actually make it to those 4 components by around stage 4, which is very tough to pull off at the moment. Sunfire board is a decent combat option, but while it's going to be gaining full value, obviously in stage 2 where the fights are slower, it's a combat augment on 2-1. Items are going to be providing you with more tempo, and otherwise you are looking for form of an econ augment or extremely strong direction leading augment. Therefore you would probably have to default to speedy double kill in this spot. Let's see how he makes the choice. Scouts around, does not exactly see many Teemo players, so perhaps this is a way of him giving a green light. Late game scaling, a weaker econ option, only if you have extremely high roll spot and able to convert it to those 5 fast 9 boards with Vex. No scout, no pivot is exactly an option that we're looking for to be playing this comp. Otherwise, treasure hunt is also a fine option to be picking up. It's ideal if it's a higher econ start, as you want to be poking those treasure chests on the stage 3 quite early on. Now, we picked up the no scout, no pivot, but we also found a Nasus in our shop right afterwards. Would have ideally wanted to play that, but perhaps we are considering playing an option of a lost streak plan, going to just make 10 here, selling off the rest of the stuff is then going on our board, especially with no scout, no pivot. Fielding these pairs is sometimes quite valuable, as especially once you are pushing levels until you make to your roll timer, you want to be making sure you are fielding the quality units, right? And fielding a pair, you're going to be 2-starring that, then you're going to be able to field the next unit, which you hopefully have lined up before then. Otherwise, you might have to be selling off what might be your strongest board at that point, just to ensure you do not end up with wasted slots, as they are crucial for yourself. We have found that Lysandra back as well, and I am not exactly sure why we have this Veigar right here. He's probably making it off the board, just holding on to the rest of the units as perhaps a default way to be playing, identifying yourself or playing for the strongest board, but we are quite sure that now other units are going to be making onto the board until the Lysandra, and we are on a 2 loss and we do not really have the slam or an upgrade unit, so we're hoping to perhaps end up on a loss streak right here. Therefore we did not field therefore we opted just to field another Leona there and did not really care about the positioning, right? Did not field that Lysandra. For our god selection right here, in our minds, we want to be aligning with Kale right here. The gradient items are great. You just have to pray that you're going to be hitting that damage gradient item. Econ 8 XP here is quite nice, and it offers us an option to go for bow, but this is also half of Stoneplate, and we can generally use some form of a tiers. Let's see if he's going to be valuing that econ plus the bow quite nice. I think both options are actually quite fine in this kind of a spot, since we are playing from a combat augment on 2-1, and getting that little bit extra econ influx from your god is quite good, right? If you are going to be playing, if you see econ gods, you can be leaning more into item and combat augments. Whereas if you see more items, consider more econ and combat options from your augment selection. Now that we have managed to find the Stoneplate and we have another potential slam, we queue into a little bit weaker players, so we're trying to see if perhaps we can end up on the 2 wins right here. Have picked up those upgrades, have found the Lysandra 2 from the Pingu's offering, therefore we are fine to be trying to now push for that tempo, try to secure those placements. We find a Zoe pair. Now, this is going to be an interesting choice to approach, because obviously if we feel that Zoe, we're going to be stuck with the Zoe on our round, and we are not sure of our Arbiter. So we'll probably be scouting our Arbiter, making sure that it is fine, but holding on to this pair here is going to be, let's see if he's going to be worth evaluating that as much. I would be selling Lysandra here to make 30. Do not want to be chasing that Lysandra T in my mind, and that also aligns with something that, for example, Brosev has taught us in his latest drops. But he opted to sell the Nasus instead. I think the double tank front 3-star frontline is just a tad bit stronger as you are playing a stall comp, right? And the Lysandra 3 is not that meaningful. Find the bow, which is prime for ourselves, and the reason why you can consider low streaking in this comp is another, since you want those stone plates, you want those a little narrow items, those rods for your Teemo. It is fine to be securing a component anvil. Now for ourselves, we do get every 4 seconds option Leona gain. He's going to go for the ecom of printing Leona. Otherwise we have only the attack speed, gaining 2 gold. I don't think any of these are particularly strong. I would be perhaps considering just fielding the NASA Spear right here, and then trying to go for that, trying to just fish for that Alawi, but we are going to be stuck here with having fielded that Zoe. Yeah, as you can see, he keeps skimming around. None of these options seem to be that appealing to him. And we have made it to level 5 by leveling here as well, which is... We are going to have the stronger board for that single round, and obviously we couldn't a weaker player, we couldn't know that, but I feel like there is a little bit room of an optimization to be made here. For our next augment selection, size matters just simply delayed value. It's too much of a delayed value, and then how we would be navigating this Warmog, this would be another tank item. We already have 2 tank items, and then this belt we would have to make it use in the Morello. Not exactly sure. Charge transfer. Teemo does small ticks, so it's not going to gain that second part, but 5 damage jump is 5 damage jump. Otherwise, the tower should be probably fine. Just simply gaining another body for your stall comp has to be quite good, and that would be my default option for right now. Going to be rerolling. Getting a 12 gold is fine. We are a little bit lower on the econ side, especially since we also leveled, but small grab bag in my opinion is the better option, simply getting those extra items. Now we do hit a gold shop that is going to hit our upgrades for ourselves. Now looking to complete, I would be going with another stone plate, but perhaps he's going to be going... That's also that is an also great way to swap your itemization, right? Getting that adaptive helm right there is potentially you could also later on move off, and keeps a open road for ourselves for that Teemo. I think that was a great choice to be making right there. Going to be just rolling here, and this is, since we have hit our upgrades, we are not going to be immediately spiking any further, just making sure we are positioning ourselves neatly, trying to cut off any potential wraps that we could have, as this is something you have to be very wary when playing a solo frontliner, just to make sure you do not get wrapped, especially by these melee lines. Into a what seems to be a... I'm interested in what they're playing with that Ori's aura right there, as that generally does not lead into some form of a roguelike. What they have right now, going to be interesting to see what they end up on. For our next god selection, we have aligned ourselves with Kale once, and we could just simply be taking Ari here. Getting that open belt is fine again for that Morello's. But well, Kale also seems very appealing. We have that gunblade sorted out, and we have a potential for that another stone plate to be rolling in. I think, yeah, Kale here is going to give us more tempo, immediate tempo right now. Getting that gunblade is going to be just generally securing stronger. While open belt, we would be probably hesitant on slamming that Morello. Now we find that the Lawi, so we would have those 3 Shepherd in right now. But since we are no scout no pivot, we do not really have that option. That is why I did not exactly like that level to level 5 there. If anything, would have held on to perhaps a little bit more econ on level 4, play the board we had, and roll down deeper on level 5 at the beginning of the stage to try to fish for that single Alawi, making our board generally a little bit stronger right there. And into what seems to be a Legion of Threes, another interesting board. They have the strong boards. They're probably tempoing that with that emblem into some form of an Ape Flex board right there. Still holding on our rolls right now. As we can see, this is another thing. While you're generally not wanting to be holding onto this Lysandra, as we are bench locked right now. Obviously, we are sitting on pairs and we are close to 1 Leona, but we would even have a neck, we would be fine with the next in as well. I perhaps would have considered maybe digging a little bit further here, but I guess we scouted our matchups and found that we are fine. Oh, right, we have that Leona print arbiter right there, so that's why there's probably not digging that deep. Yeah, we're getting that Leona printed right now. We had to go with that option since we fielded that Zoe right there. Chasing Leona 4 is generally something that's not realistic. Obviously, if I hit a little early on, it still would be 18 copies that we had to secure. And that is 3 whole stages. And, well, right now it would be at the stage, at the end of stage 4, at the end of stage 5, at the end of stage 6. You can get there, but sometimes, in most cases, that gold for pushing levels or securing upgrades is going to be worthwhile just a little bit more. Able to find a Lawi too and going for a roll down right now. He delayed his roll down most likely just so we could have those Leonas taken out of the pool. Slightly increasing our shop odds, but it's a neat little optimization made right there. Going to be slamming that Sunfire that completes our items the nicest. Do not want to be slamming something like Striker's Flail since we do not have the JG just yet, and that would generally not be the strongest option for Teemo. The Jeweled Gauntlet is just not a great form of the fashion, and some we want that anti-heal sorted out anyhow. Cybernetic Uplink is not exactly what they're looking for. This is an attack speed scaling comp rather than exactly manage and comp. Therefore, you have my bow is quite nice. Another item augment, slamming that Void Staff right away would be an option. He seems to be loving Jeweled Lotus here. Now, I think Ascension here might be just a little bit stronger of the combat option, but he's evaluating Jeweled Lotus. I know Gold Jeweled Lotus is quite strong, but I'm not exactly sure if that is the strongest of the choices, and he does seem to be going for it. That's another interesting choice. We'll have to probably dig in a little bit deeper as to why we're exactly picking the Jeweled Lotus as valuing it as high. Now, going to be slamming that's transitioning that Sunfire onto the Leona. Could have slammed the Adaptive Helm, but we picked up the Lysandra 3 and ended up to push levels here now, since we are now Scout now Pivot, to get that 3 Shepherd in. Should be a very strong board, as we have also managed to hit our Teemo 3, and now we're just simply off to the races to be pushing the levels, have that Mordekaiser lined up. But this is another thing that you are losing out on fielding that Zoe, right? We do not have the 4 Vanguard in right now. We definitely wanted to have the Illaoi sorted in on here to get that Shepherd, and that leaves us at 3 Vanguard, and this is no Scout now Pivot. The dividends this Zoe is paying right now. Obviously, the upside, we managed to hit our Leona somewhat early on, but you're generally going to be able to secure your 3 stars. Going for that Printing Arbiter is good if you are playing for tempo, and then we are selling off these Leonas now as a gold influx. 1 gold per turn, not the worst. Could be better though. For our last god selection now, we are pushing levels, getting a little bit shared buff is quite fine, but we have a full stone plate here as well, which would be completely fine. But since we have 3 item stank sorted out already, just getting more damage items is what we are looking for right now, as we do not have the Teemo 3 item sorted just yet, and bow is amazing for him as an option. Going to be pushing the levels and keeping ourselves at 30 here, and we have the open tier, right? I believe I missed that, so we're going to have that Void Staff sorted out. So it's amazing. The bow was immediately more appealing option for ourselves. Having our utility fully sorted out is great. Into, yeah, the Orizora is playing into a Corki. Now that's an interesting pick to be going for. I do not see them exactly playing that great, but they are playing for that extreme tempo, so they are able to pick up rounds. Hey, it works. Item is an item. Sometimes your plan doesn't work out exactly, and you simply have to be adapting. And this is what the top ELO players are great at. Not always you're going to be having that perfect game. You make a choice and then you have to live with it, but you have to try to make the best out of it, and this player definitely has managed to capitalize on the and perhaps dodge some of these rerollers in the stages where he was a little bit weaker, able to get to the stage 4 and roll down for his board, but we expect them to maybe perhaps fall off a little bit on in the later of game. Also, we can see a single Rammus being pulled down here by Frodan, as this is actually how these Meeple players win out. They're just backdooring a 3-star forecast on yourself. Now we're probably looking for another form of damage item, ideally something for Teemo, or we can just be sufficient with whatever we have. This is going to become a Steadfast and a Striker's Fall, and unfortunately our Radiant item right here is going to be that Spirit Visage. Not exactly what we would be wanting, but we'll have to suffice. Also, getting that Sunfire off Leona is quite neat, as it's paying the tax for being a utility item. It's not going to be the strongest in pure tankiness, and we want to make this Leona as tanky as possible, especially if you're not going for that full Stoneplate stack build. As we can see, this Meeple player now is going for that Corki 3 on their backhand, so we're able to file, and since they hit that Rammus, we're able to sell that off. Now just going to be looking to push more levels, but we have to make sure, since they're playing no Scout, no Pivot, that once we level, we have an in to be going for. Ideally, I believe this at this point would become that Nami, or a Rast is going to be completely fine as well. But just do not be leveling and then realizing you only have like 10 gold and you are unable to find a unit to field, as we have to live with them for the rest of the game. Into a Karma LeBlanc board that is more playing around that AP Fleck kind of playstyle. Do not exactly have the LeBlanc items there for carrying that Karma there. Going to be leveling here. Still not too much gold to be rolling right here. And I did not see if we rolled past a Rast, but Otherwise, what we should be doing in this kind of situation is simply not playing anything. Yeah, level 8, 7 out of 8, but it sometimes is how it is. However, Shen is a sufficient throw in, can be used as that flex out for it a little bit, either frontline or attack speed. And we are in a stage where we definitely want to be securing as many placements as we can. Therefore, we're evaluating that level to be that worthwhile. Since we have that Jeweled Lotus able to pick up another Striker's Filler, now that Nami comes obviously in the shop right after, would have been an amazing game to have us right now, as we are not going to be securing Shen 2 on level 8 almost in any well, you should not be expecting securing a Shen 2 on level 8, especially on this level of a gold. But it's fine. We played for the tempo play. We played for the Suras to be able to secure that top 4 into that Meeple player. Now, as we can see, now that we have managed to scale our no scout, no pivot, we are just very strong. This is why his no scout, no pivot is so strong. Since it was converted into aura, it does pump choice up all your units, even the ones you field on later on, and the scaling is actually insane. In any kind of 1-cost reroll line, this is definitely something you could be considering, or even that primordial reroll, because you can Dape. It's a 1-cost or a 2-cost reroll, as your primary is that Belveth. Into that AP flex player again, who seems to be playing around the 5 Shepherd right there. The Karma primary is quite nice in anyhow, but this Leona is just absolutely tanky with that Radiant item, and since we are on the same side, the Teemo is able to get to that backline right there. This is something that I have noticed is that if you have this extra bulk in front of this Teemo right here, he sometimes is able to just simply get through this frontliner and then walk up and start attacking the backliners, and you're able to take them out. So it seems like being on the same side as the enemy carries is a little bit of a better choice. For our last item, we could just simply be going for another frontline item, which Protector's Vow would be quite neat. Otherwise, I mean, could also just be going for the Shojin and transitioning the Adaptive Helm. But Protector's Vow is still just a better mana generating item for your frontline. We can see some interesting moves around the positioning, but another thing, since we only have a single Stone Plate and the damage profile of these extra other boards can be quite bursty, we do not want to be solo frontlining this Leona anymore. This is something you have to be identifying generally in the middle of stage 4, or approximately when the 2-star 4-cost carries are carrying online. Identify if the lobby has burst, have their Namis. Karma even can also kind of burst. Corki there is quite bursty. This is quite a little bit decent of burst chunk in these unit design this set. Therefore, keeping a full solo frontline at that point is risky, as they can just simply get bursted through their shields, and that's when you can just go for some form of like having, perhaps sometimes you can even just solo frontline one side, having like 3 units on here. Just to split that damage profile a little bit. We're able to make our way to level 9 here now and slot that Nami in, have a Nami pair in shop, and ideally, if we were on level 8, this is where we would be transitioning your items from that Lysandra onto the 2-star 4-cost. As well, let's just make a simple math. 12 gold is going to be worth more than 9 gold in form of unit power. We have been again at the Shepherd player, but this time on the opposite side. But simply, the Karma does not have the burst any longer to be able to get through our vanguards. This Leona is an absolutely tanky unit right there. Getting another item here. Ideally, I believe we would be looking to complete 3-item unit right now. Able to find that Nami too, but we are only a single gold off. Is he perhaps evaluating it simply lacking damage at this point, and this Leona is going to be fine? Trying the solo positioning. Okay, we're going against Mech 3. Fine, alright. We just want to be killing off as many units as we possibly can, as we're not going to be sustaining that burst right there. Staying alive on a single HP, and that secures us a top 3. Now, the reason why I'm talking about here quickly about itemization, I think gaining 3 items on your unit is quite a lot of value. You want to be transitioning this adaptive helm here on the Alawi, then just simply having 3 item, 3 item, 3 item, 3 item is going to be quite fine, unless you are identifying at your spot that you are in a necessity of more damage. This is something that you're just going to be better at watching a lot of fights, but you can evaluate. Now, I believe, are we into this mech player right now? No, we have taken the Void Staff off. Alright, so we're going to be transitioning simply since we have that Nami, which is going to be better carry. And we have a Corki 3 in our lobby. Alright, they found their win condition. The Orizora Corki even has paid myself the tax for thinking that's weird. But hey, we had an amazing game. we obviously lost to these 4-cost rerollers, but as a 1-cost reroll, then taking a third spot is amazing. How we were enabled, found the strongest augment that can essentially lead ourselves into the direction. We're not greedy with our item slams, identify the strongest slams we can make in moment to push the tempo, secure that HP lead, which enables us to later on push levels and field our units of the higher quality. Very well fundamentally played game, and we are capping around in a nice way. However, with some disagreements, at least from my side, how I would be perhaps approaching this line. But you simply have to always make the best choice in the moment. Making some form of a choice is always going to be better than making no choice. Therefore, I hope that you learned something new and found new perspective of how to approach this line. Again, the link for the cheat sheet is going to be down below, and the full sheet coming soon. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.